Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of the Dune Over. A year to the day since the last time we had one. Unfortunately, it's just Scott and I tonight. Jen was having some health problems due to her medication. So we're going to carry it on, and she'll be in the chat bringing up anything that we get wrong or things that she wants to throw in. This is probably my third time reading the Dune, God Emperor of Dune, and this was your first time so far. What are your thoughts, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, I was aware of its reputation. I think that maybe people undersell that there is, activity and action in it when they talk about it sometimes, or at least the people I had heard talk about it. But it also definitely lives up to some of its reputation as a guy mansplaining to another guy for a lot. So it's I still find it very engaging and entertaining, but it's a particular kind of book.
So Frank Herbert told his son that this was a love story. What do you think?
Yeah, well,
so far,
I mean, it potentially will be a love story about someone's great 3,000 times niece and a Gola, I guess, or a lust story of that. I don't know if love is the word I would use.
A betrothal of breeding.
Yeah, breeding program, love story. Potato. Right?
So for those that don't know, this book takes place about 3,000 to 4,000 years after the end of Children of Dune. Leto II decided to splice his body with sand trout.
Yeah,
And they've had an effect on him. And in true Frank Herbert form, he starts this out. Yes, there's just a face inside a worm's mouth.
It's a me, and it definitely only looks like a worm.
Yes. We start this out with their version of Sotheby's auction.
Yeah.
Because, why not?
Yeah.
And they're talking about the stolen journals. We'll find out more of that in a little bit. But they were like, we printed out stuff for you in paper. It's heavier. Sorry.
Yeah. It's that good. It's not that. It's like Baxter paper. It's not that shitty newsprint.
It's the same stuff we printed Teen Titans on, or New Titans.
It's that really good issue of Outsiders that Kevin Nolan drew. It's that. More like that.
It's got some really good colors.
Yeah.
We're bringing it in. It's glossy. George Perez approved.
Yeah.
We didn't use it on year 2 because McFarlane's art we didn't deem worthy enough to be on this.
Yeah. I don't think it's slabbed though. It's raw. I think they're selling raw copies. So
it's a digital It's a digital that they turn raw.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they turned it raw.
Oh. And they're like talking about authenticating. This shit is insane to me. I'm just like, this is the prologue. Like, what the fuck? And it's been years since I read this. I don't remember, and probably when I first read this, I didn't even know what Sotheby's was, and I'm like, oh, they're about to have a heritage auction. I bet there's a Superman #1.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was the first thing, and then the next thing was like an iPod, because you can't have those in the future probably.
It's a Zune.
Yeah, it's a Zune. Exactly. Actually, the Zune, we think that was the most prevalent thinking machine music player.
We had to get rid of it. We destroyed it after the jihad.
Yeah.
And they do the reading of this Lost thing, and right away you're like, this dude is insane.
Oh, yeah.
I assure you that I am the Book of Fate. Questions are my enemies, for my questions explode. Answers leap up like a frightened flock, blackening the sky of my inescapable memories. Not one answer, not one suffices. And I'm just like, this guy needs a live journal.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what Irulan kind of pioneered, is re-upping the live journal, and we should have learned more from her. And I'm sad she's not here in the beginning to teach that lesson. That if you want, put your thoughts on live journal, put your thoughts on a podcast. We'll bring it back thousands of years later.
He starts talking about, he's like, I am tossed about in a storm of mysteries, and when the box opens, I return to the presence like a stranger in a primitive land.
Yeah.
This is where I started hearing Malcolm.
Yeah, this is
in my head.
yeah.
Slowly, I say I relearn my name.
Yeah,
That
okay.
is not to know myself. Well, this person of my name, this is Leto. Who is the second of that calling? Actually, the third, but let's not. There's
Mm-hmm.
baby that got killed.
Oh yeah, off screen. We don't even.
Finds other voices in his mind, other names in other places. Oh, I promise you, as I have been promised, that I answer to you but a single name. If you say Leto, I respond. Sufferance makes this true. Sufferance and one thing more. I hold the threads.
It could be Ian
yes,
McKellen too. I think. I know you're saying
a
Malcolm
little bit,
McDowell,
yes.
but you could be Ian McKellen too. I think. Yeah.
And then he's just like, all of them are mine. Let me but imagine a topic, say, men who have died by the sword. And I have them all in all their gore. Every image intact, every moan, every grimace. Joys of motherhood? I've been there. I've done that.
Yeah, speaking of moans, he has other moans in his head. Too.
Yeah.
They talked about that in the last book.
So, like, he's just like, if I want to know childbirth, if I want to know poisoning, you know, someone's tongue blackened, them biting their tongue off, I could do that. Like, I've experienced everything. You know nothing.
Real know-it-all.
Yeah.
God Emperor is, yeah.
So the next chapter, we meet, I guess, our antagonist. I
think antagonist, because I think that, I mean,
I don't know who the point of view is in this.
Yeah, well, I feel that's something about the books is like, you know, Herbert just shifts point of view, and especially because he uses thought sequences, you know, like where they would be thought balloons more than I would see a lot of other writers use it, and he'll kind of like shift even in a chapter, like thought perspective. So
yeah. This is like Logan's Run. They're running through this forest from D-wolves.
D-wolves. Should I say my thing about that?
Sure.
Yeah. So, please, I'm not telling you to look this up because it's quite in poor taste. But there was an old comic, Penny Arcade comic, I think, and it referred to dick wolves. And that's all I'm going to say. Again, I'm not. Look it up if you want, but I can't endorse that comic. But when they were saying D-wolves, that's what came to mind, and that's just you peering inside my head for a minute. So
it's these people running and these wolves are chasing them. And I, of course, had to Google like someone's artist interpretation.
Oh, yeah.
They look like werewolves that were from like, oh God, what the fuck was that movie? The horrible one with Hugh Jackman.
The
Helsing.
Van Helsing one? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, like, it just reminded me of that design of their, like, werewolves, except they loped on all four legs because they were, like, thick up top but gangly legs.
Yeah. Thick wolves.
Douchey wolves were like, hey, come in the forest.
Yeah, they're gym rat wolves. But it's always armed.
They're cat calling.
Yeah.
Hey, good looking. But you got stringy meat on you.
Drinking protein shakes.
You look like a runner. So the first guy who gets taken down, his name was Ulat. He was short in stature and with a tendency to be fat. But he was very good with plans.
Which is important because he is a Fremen, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's important that they mention his ampleness or tendency toward ampleness, which as a 40-year-old man, I totally understand a tendency toward ampleness showing up.
We introduced Sayona, which again, like,
we don't know much better at this point.
Herbert gets a little creepy where she's like, I got this athletic body, and all of a sudden, the men are kind of looking at me.
Yeah.
Classic Herbert.
Classic Herbert. Like, I totally was flashed back to when Aaliyah appeared in her with her naked training session, and I was just like, "Is this what? Come on, what's going on?"
The firemen are so different now, Jeff. I believe you mean Fremen.
Oh yeah, they're different too, though.
Yes, now they're firemen. They're like, hey, there's stuff that can catch fire here now. Fuck.
They all have mustaches and suspenders.
They do cave drawings of.
Yeah. My dad was a fireman for 40 years, so I can say that. I can make that joke.
This other character, Quuteg, who also a runner with long strides, who also kind of blew his knee out while he was running and was still being able to run, who was fierce, but he refused to tie his hair back.
Yeah.
That is, for some reason, it's a topic in this. They're like,
yeah, he's got to paint a picture. He's got to paint a picture.
Yeah. And they're like, if we can only reach the Idaho River. And I was just like,
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not named after Duncan, though. No, I mean, it is. But like, what if it wasn't? Just like, oh, yeah, it's a great name.
So they stole these journals, and there's plans to the Citadel.
Mm-hmm.
Which...
But they don't know. No, they did suspect that the plans are in there. That's right. I get twisted about like who knows what's in what. Yeah.
So the pack, they're chasing her. They're trained not to go in the water. They can't cross it. Right. So whatever's in the forest, they get to keep and eat. And she hears them go back into the forest. And like, she's like, oh, they're eating my friends.
Yeah.
Damn you, worm.
Well, and weren't there, there were like 11 of them.
Yes. She was the only one that survived.
Yeah. So like 10 Fremen ate it. Or got 8. So it's really like, I found this really exciting too. Like it reminded me of the Laza Tigers, in Children of Dune, which was one of my favorite like things in a science fiction book, is just that chase. And this kind of brought me back to that. So I really loved that part.
Also, they're like, well, there's a cipher. We probably need this. It's heavy. Well, give it to Siona. She's the most athletic. Fuck it.
Right. Again, yeah.
So, like, while she's in the water, she's basically, lamenting her friends, and she's cursing what she calls the worm.
The worm.
And not to sound like Macho Man when he was fighting Dennis Rowe.
Worm! Worm! Yeah. Don't worry, there's more Macho Man later.
So, a thing we're going to talk about is Leto as the God Emperor uses lots of voices in this because he channels all these ancestors. So when they're doing it, I start hearing other voices, and sometimes when he's getting sentimental, it's Alan Rickman.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he goes full wrestler heel, and I have Macho Man.
Yeah, he's from cutting promos.
Yes, he cuts a lot of promos.
He does.
She's in the war. She's like, I have broken through your defenses, Leto. I will destroy you, Leto. Not we will destroy you. That was not Siona's way. She would do it herself.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was just like, strode towards the orchids or orchards, which orchards on Dune. There's a forest.
Yeah.
Weird.
We're really we're just like suddenly like thrust into like, oh my God, everything's different.
And
so different.
We find out her lineage because she walks around adding to. Wow.
Oh,
about to say her name and thunder hit. Adding to it allowed the old Fremen formula, which terminated in her full name, Siona ibn Fuad al-Sayafa Atreides. It is who curses you, Leto. You will pay in full. And
that was a big like, what? For me. The first reading of it, I was like sort of familiar, but I didn't really know about Siona exactly.
And then we get into the next chapter. It's Leto. He's just like, this is the translations from the volumes. I was born Leto Atreides II, more than 3,000 standard years ago. Measuring from the moment when I caused these words to be printed. My father was Paul Muad'Dib. My mother was his Fremen consort Chani. My maternal grandmother was Farula, a noted herbalist among the Fremen. My paternal grandmother was Jessica, a product of the Bene Gesserit breeding scheme in their search for a male who could share the powers. My maternal grandfather was Liet Kynes, the plantologist. My paternal grandfather was the Atreides, descendant of the House Atreus, and tracing his ancestry back to the Greek original. Enough of these begats. My paternal grandfather died as many good Greeks did, attempting to kill his mortal enemy, the old Baron.
Damn.
Now, both of them rest uncomfortably now in my ancestral memory. Even my father is not content. I have done what he feared to do, and now his shade must share in these consequences. The golden path demands it.
That made me realize something. Are we keeping track of Leto's skull anymore?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
They don't talk about where it is.
Yeah. That's right. I'm gonna write a 7th Dune book.
The golden path demands it. What is the golden path, you ask?
Yeah, this is the Macho Man.
Survival of humankind. We who have prescience, we who know the pitfalls in our human futures. This has always been our responsibility. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Survival. How you feel about that? Petty woes and joy. Like it goes.
It's
back
totally Macho Man. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's something Macho Man would say. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that.
He could go full Ric Flair.
Oh yeah.
Petty woes, joys, your agonies, raptures. Woo! Seldom concern us.
Is there room for a Dusty Rhodes voice in this somewhere? Maybe we're living on Arrakis in the Tharia. We're taking
I tried to wreck my multi-galactic empire and put them hard times on the people.
Yeah, it's hard times.
Baby.
I know
Put them hard times on them, baby.
Yeah, you know hard times. Baron Harkonnen, he knew hard times. He put hard times on the people. The Harkonnen. Yeah, sorry. We'll pull out
melange,
of
the
this
spice. Dune was noteworthy only as the source of melange, the only source, one extraordinary substance. No lab could ever duplicate it, and it's the most valuable substance humankind has ever found, kind of like Macho Madness. Without melange to ignite the linear prescience of guild navigators, people cross the parsecs of space only to snail's crawl. The Bene Gesserit can't endow truthsayers or reverend mothers without it. I control it all, basically. They come hat in hand to petition. He's doing a flex.
Oh yeah, totally.
I dole it out as a reward and hold it back as punishment. Oh, how they hate that.
Oh yeah.
It is my power, my gift.
Yeah, the ultimate flex. If anybody, of all the like characters in fiction with a flex, controlling the substance that runs the universe is pretty big flex.
I began this account in the first year of my stewardship, in the first throes of my metamorphosis, when I was still mostly human, even visibly so. The sand trap skin, which I accepted, my father refused. Yes, throw that in there.
Yep, oh yeah.
And which gave me greatly amplified strength, plus virtual immunity from conventional attack and aging. That skin still covered a form recognizably human: 2 legs, 2 arms, a human face framed in the scrolled folds of the sand trout. Ah, that face. I still have it. The only human skin I exposed to the universe.
Yeah. He's got his little flippers.
Yes. His legs don't work anymore, and they're basically useless flippers.
Yeah. And he rolls around on a little cart.
And he considers himself a pre-worm.
Yeah.
As I cause these words to be recorded, the golden path continues, and for that, at least I am content. I no longer feel the sand trout cilia probing my flesh encapsulating the water of my body. We are virtually one body now. They, my skin, and I, the force which moves the whole. How do I carry my weight around? Mostly on my royal cart. The Ixians made it.
They're good at making stuff.
Yeah, basically, he's like, people hate him. I'm okay with them.
Yeah. They
think they do me favors and are on my good side. I just let them fuck off.
Yeah, and they're working on something else that we'll get to later.
Yes. These very words printed on an Ixian device. A dictatel, it is called.
I know. Yeah, that's one of those things where it's like, it's a great name because it's hilarious, but also it makes sense. Dictatel. But
I merely think in this mode, and the words are printed for me on Redulian crystal sheets on only 1 molecule thick.
Yeah.
Sometimes I orders copied, printed of material of lesser permanence.
That's the Baxter paper in the future.
I got a Kinko's.
Yeah. The Kinko's and the future Kinko's are amazing.
It was 2 of these latter types that were stolen from me by Siona. Isn't she fascinating? My Siona.
Yeah.
Now I just turned to Paul. Oh, I just turned to Paul Lynn. Oh, isn't she fascinating?
Oh, yeah, there you go. Paul Lynn.
As
we're
you come
so
to
old.
understand her importance to me, you may even question whether it's one of the voices he's channeling.
Yeah. I
Oh
like this.
my.
I like you. I like adding in Paul Lind as a.
Oh, she fascinates even me, though. I watched her there in the forest through my Ixian devices. I watched her, wondering why I had not anticipated this venture. But Siona is Siona. Nah.
Yeah.
That is why I made no move to stop the wolves. I would have been wrong to do that. The D-wolves are but an extension of my purpose, and my purpose is to be the greatest predator ever known.
You kind of could lean into Rip Taylor there too.
Hello!
Mineo. Hey, Mineo. Ah!
Hello, Frisco!
Yeah, exactly.
There is... Oh god, there's a lot of like dialogue in this.
Yeah, so much. Well, like we were saying like before, it is technically a dialogue, but it's like Mineo says one thing and then 10 pages later gets to say something else and then 10 pages. So it's like it's monologue, like you were saying, but it is dialogue.
Like this chapter starts with a interaction between Siona and Mineo. She's like, "How have you survived with him for so long, Father? He kills those who are close to him." Everybody knows that. He goes, "No, you're wrong. He kills no one." And she's like, you didn't lie about him. He goes, "No, I mean it. He kills no one." Then how do you account for the known deaths? Oh, it's the worm. Like,
oh yeah,
the worm is God. Leto lives in the bosom of God, and he kills no one.
He's separating them. That's right. He did kind of like the idea of
this starts to become like that Barbara Walters, Charlie Manson interview. It's like, I didn't kill nobody.
That's right. Well, technically true, but he had a cult.
Maybe I didn't kill enough people. Maybe that's the problem.
The Charles Manson comp isn't bad either for Leto at this point, because he is like, messianic figure literally who other people.
And then she's like, well, how do you survive? He's like, oh, I can see the worm. I can recognize it. I can see it in the face and in his movements. I know when Shia Lu approaches. And she's like, he's not Shia Lu. He's like, well, I mean, that's what they call the worm in the Fremen days. She's like, yeah, I read about it, but he's not the god of the desert. And he's like, be quiet, foolish girl. You know nothing of such things. And she's like, I know you're a coward. And he's like, you've never stood where I have stood, and see it in his eyes and the movements of his hands. What do you do when the worm approaches? I walk out.
Yeah.
Like, literally, he's like, I leave. He's killed 9 Duncans that we know of for sure. He's like, I tell you, he kills no one.
Yeah. Mineo quiet quits when the worm shows up.
Throws his hands up, like,
all right.
He's like that episode of South Park where Token watches that porn. He's like, I don't know what that is, but I'm out. And she's like, well, you're mad. And he goes, perhaps, but I do serve God. Like, I'm okay. Yes, Jen, pretty much 9 that we know of.
Right. Yeah.
Hello. This is also the creepiest thing. I am the most ardent people watcher who ever lived.
Yeah, that's creepy. I
watch them inside me and outside. Past and present can mingle with odd impositions in me, and as the metaphor continues in my flesh, wonderful things happen to my senses.
Yeah.
It's as though I sense everything in close up. I have extremely acute hearing and vision, plus a sense of smell extraordinarily discriminating. I can detect and identify pheromones at 3 parts per million. I know, I've tested it.
So I can just picture him like using the scientific method to test his pheromone detecting ability.
There's one where he's like, this guy didn't even know he was related to Stilgar.
Yeah. Like, oh, you. Oh, yeah.
Or does it start not being a metaphor? Which part, Jen? Which part?
Is this just Herbert is like, okay, people need to hear from me. Like, this is me. This is just me. I'm smarter than everybody.
He's like, this guy was so near to death and his water was sure to be wasted. Well, that doesn't matter anymore.
Nope.
Leto thought it the most interesting place in the universe, this place where he awaited the arrival of the current Duncan Idaho, who he's like, I know he's going to
try and kill me, right?
He's like, I know he's going to come in here to kill me. I just want to be entertained.
Right, yeah, and so Yeah, Jen put it in the chat, right? Like, so there's 9 that we know of, but there's like a
Yeah.
lot more that we just don't. We don't have no idea really how many total Duncans there have been.
Yeah.
At 3,000 years.
3,000 years. There's probably been figure they make 10 to 20 years each.
Yeah.
I'd say good 500 at least.
Yeah, I would imagine, but
how
many.
So this Duncan's in, and he's like, "All right, I know he's got a gun in the case. What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do?"
Right? Yeah, that's gonna go.
And he's like, "Oh, he's starting to read paperwork. God damn it! All right, well, I'll play along with this."
Mm-hmm.
Where he's like, Leto, damn it, because I'm God, so I can.
Right, he could. Yeah, he's. That's what I would say if I was God. I would just use my name.
And he does like some interesting thing. He talks about rebels.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And he's like, like rebellions, if you ignore it and they just go away.
Right.
Like, I've lived so many lives. I know how it is. And then, how naive. Chance is the nature of our universe, not chance, mischief. And you're the author of mischief. Excellent, Duncan. Mischief is the most profound pleasure. It's in the ways we deal with mischief that sharpen our creativity. And I know, like, if I was the guy talking to me, like, motherfucker.
Yeah, he just, yeah. He's just on one. He's just constantly on one. He's just like, please let me talk to you about every thought in my head.
You're not even human anymore. Oh, how angry the Duncan had been. Leto found his accusation irritating, like a grain of sand in the eye.
That is irritating. That's one of the most irritating
Skywalker
things.
Would be real mad. He'd
yeah.
Sand gets everywhere.
Yeah. This is who Anakin wanted to be Leto at this. Like, this is the actually Anakin's role model in those movies is Leto, God Emperor Leto.
He held on to the remnants of his once human self with a grimness which could not be denied, although irritation was the closest he come to anger. And this is where little Alan Rickman comes in. Your life is becoming a cliche, Mr. Potter.
Oh, yeah, totally. That's perfect, yes.
Whereupon the Duncan had produced a small explosive from the folds of his uniform robe. Oh, what a surprise. Leto loves surprises. Oh.
Yeah.
It is something I did not predict. And he said as much to Duncan, who's this could kill you. I'm sorry, Duncan. It'll injure me a little bit, but yeah, you didn't predict this.
Yeah.
Duncan is absolute prediction, which equals death to me. How unutterably boring death is. The Duncan tried to throw the explosive, but didn't quite work.
Nope. Screwed that up.
Duncan tried to throw the explosive to one side, but the material in it had been unstable and went off too soon.
Mm-hmm.
One of the drifting glow globes above Leto began to blink. Excitement gripped a Maneo's signal. Faithful Maneo had alerted his God Emperor that Duncan was descending. Okay, this was the last Duncan.
Yeah.
So that would be the 9th one they knew of.
Right. Yeah. That's how I understood it. It's just the 9th Duncan.
And then he's like, well, this time it's going to be an Ixian late lasgun. We'll see what happens.
Then he shoots him in the flipper, right?
Yes.
That's where he shoots him in the flipper.
I'm going to talk to you about Siona. And he's like, very well. Siona was the only one who escaped, but she still has a base of rebel companions. You think I don't know this? I know your dangerous tolerance for rebels. What I don't know is the contents of the package. Oh, it's just complete plans for the Citadel.
Right. Like, whatever. Yeah, sad. Yeah, for sure, sad trip.
It's just like, you let her escape with it? No, you did. And he's just like, oh.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that all she got? I had 2 volumes, copies of my journal with the charts. She stole the copies. What's in the journal? Sometimes you say it's a diary. Sometimes it's bit of both. Yeah, you might even call it a textbook.
That's the thing. You and me I wouldn't be chill about somebody stealing my journal.
No.
But a guy that just talks at people about every thought in his head is not going to really care much about his journal getting stolen.
He's like a little Robert De Niro. A little bit.
Yeah. You did a little bit. You insulted me a little bit.
Does it bother you that she took these volumes? Leto allowed himself a small smile. He's like, Idaho accepted as a negative answer. A momentary tension rippled through Leto's body as Idaho reached into a slim case. He's like, ooh, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it?
Yeah, here's the word.
And they brought out another report. He's like, oh.
Yeah. Nope, not yet.
And it's build up,
Yeah,
and finally he was
More
just
of this
like
back and forth. Yeah.
the worm takes over at the threat, and he launches himself off the cart and like
Yeah. Power slams him.
rolls around like Sonic the Hedgehog right onto his. The closest thing I could say, it's like when a bigger version of Jeff Hardy goes off the ladder
Oh, yeah.
and does a swanton.
Yeah. After
So it's like that.
Texas, they're having a ladder match inside.
Except he gets his flipper blasted. He's like, ow.
Yeah.
Son
When
of
he
a
gets the
bitch.
flipper blasted, I was like, that just seems like insulting more than anything. But also, like, it does hurt. I mean, he does register pain at it a little, right? So
Yeah, he's just like, ow.
Yeah,
it'll
like,
heal up in a little bit, fucker.
Yeah. Right.
And he's just like, is that next Duncan almost ready? Like,
yeah. Can you get the new
and they
one
explain
in
like when he landed on, he basically crushed his chest like cavity completely in because he weighs. I believe they said he weighs something close to 5 human tons.
Yeah, I think it was like something like that. Yeah, multiple tons for sure.
And then he's like lamenting, why the Duncans never really hear me when I tell them about this? I have had this argument with this very Duncan. It was one of our earliest confrontations right here in the crypt. The art of government requires that you never give up the initiative to radical elements, he said. How pedantic. Radicals crop up in every generation. You must not try to prevent this. That's what he means by give up the initiative. He wants to crush them, suppress them. I told him radicals are only to be feared when you try to suppress them. You must demonstrate that you will use the best of what they offer. They're dangerous. Whatever. Let's see. Leto climbed back onto his cart. There had been a close...
He says all that while he's like crushing him. Like they think that's something good. Where he's like, he's got to like, listen. Here's some more speechifying while I kill you. Because again, he's kind of the worst, but also it's pretty epic.
Also, as an aside here, Leto climbed back on the royal cart. That had been a close one. There could be little doubt that the Duncan had been aiming for the brain. Leto was always aware that his hands and feet were vulnerable, but he had allowed no one to learn that what had once been his brain was no longer directly associated with his face. It was not even a brain of human dimensions anymore, but had spread in nodal congeries throughout the body. He had told this to no one but to his journals.
Yeah, that's a weird revelation too. Because he's pre-worm, right? And worms,
yes,
that's kind of how a worm is, right? So yeah, it makes sense, but very strange.
And then we go into Frank Herbert talking about my favorite thing, furnishings.
Oh yeah, here we go. Yes,
it's a woman working at a small wall desk, too big for the narrow chair in which she perched. The city of Own, there was but a single glow globe high in a corner. It had been turned to a warm yellow, but the light failed to dispel the gray utility of the small room. Walls and ceilings were covered by identical rectangular panels of dull gray metal.
I like that Herbert predicted hue lights.
Yes. There was only one other piece of furniture, a narrow cot with a thin pallet covered by a featureless gray blanket. It had been obvious the furniture had not been designed for the occupant. His hands and feet are vulnerable, like ticklish.
Oh,
yes, that's a tickle monster.
Yeah, that's the next Duncan tries to exploit the ticklishness of his extremities.
Blowing on his belly.
Yeah.
She wore a one-piece pajama suit. Oh my god! And she's talking about Siona continues actions which predict violent attacks on your holy person. She is a spy, obviously. She's trying to send these stolen books to the Bene Gesserit, the Guild, and the Ixians. She says the books contain your enciphered words, and by this gift, she seeks help in translating your holy words. Lord, I do not know what great revelations may be concealed on those pages, but if they contain anything of threat to your holy person, I beg you to relieve me from my vow of obedience. Her name is Nyla.
Nyla, yeah.
Or Nayla.
Nayla. I think, yeah, the audiobook, I think they say Nayla. Yeah.
So she finishes, and then they meet a nervous fat man named Topri, who turned out another spy.
Yeah, there's like, yeah, I know, it's like everybody's a spy. Like
But he's Maneo's.
right. He's Maneo's spy. This reminds me of I was just watching the pilot of Miami Vice, and there's a part in it where it's like Crockett and Tubbs and another Vice cop, and then there's like one guy that's actually a drug dealer, and they're all like, but they don't know each other, and so then they get busted, and like they're all like three of them are all cops, and it's like that moment. It's like everybody's a spy, but nobody knows who's a spy for who.
So this whole chapter is nothing but trying to prod who the spy is.
Right, yeah. It's like,
and they're all like Topri, and Siona's like, well, it's not Nayla, she's too honest.
Yeah, right.
But Nayla thinks she's busted at a certain point. She's like,
and Topri is very sweaty, right? He's like very like,
yes.
Which it seems like he would not be a good spy because he just seems so like he can't keep it together.
There is something pressed between 2 pages of paper. Siona leaned over the table and read, a strand of Ganema's hair with a starflower blossom, which she once brought me. Looking up at Nayla, Siona said, our god emperor is revealed as a sentimentalist. That is a weakness I had not expected. Ganema, Nayla asked. His sister, remember your oral history. Oh yes, the prayer to Ganema.
Yes, and that is like a part of this is the, I guess, exposing or exploiting the fact that Leto is still like has a heart inside, or like proving that he has a heart in,
he also does some poetry.
Yeah, right.
The sand beach is gray as a dead cheek. A green tide flow reflects cloud ripples. I stand on the dark, wet edge. Cold foam cleanses my toes. I smell driftwood smoke.
Not bad.
You need the drum like he's at one of those like beat poetry slams.
It's so I married an axe murderer, Mike Myers.
Yes. Again, Siona looked up at Nayla. This is identified as words I wrote when told of Gani's death. What do you think of that? Well, I think it's terrible.
Yeah, it's not great, but
he loved
sincere.
His sister?
Yeah.
Yes, he is capable of love.
Right, that's the key.
Oh, yes, we have him now.
Yes, we can exploit him.
And becoming a Bond villain.
There's a lot of like, I mean, again, Herbert, probably not like, well, I don't know. Maybe it is on purpose, but there's a lot of like, these women will exploit these men and take it, you know what I mean? Like a, I don't know. I don't know if it's like on purpose or not that he kind of revisits that trope, but it does seem to come up a little bit.
The next chapter starts with like Mineo going down to the crypt, and he's reliving days where he first started serving, and Leto's like, you don't like this place, Mineo, I can see that. And he's like, no, Lord. And
no, he doesn't.
You don't think of a mausoleum as a comforting place, Mineo. I find it a source of infinite strength. He's like, yes, Lord. He's Mr. Smithers.
Yeah, that was another thing I thought I had. It's Burns and Smithers, except Smithers is kind of in love with Mr. Burns a little bit, and I don't think Mineo is really all that. It's like how Smithers should think about Mr. Burns, and not how he does think about Mr. Burns.
There are only a few of my ancestors here. The Water of Muad'Dib, Ghani, and Hark al-Ada are here, of course, but they're not my ancestors. No, if there's any true crypt of my ancestors, I am the crypt. This is mostly the Duncans and the products of my breeding program. You'll be here someday, Mineo. Like, thanks.
Wow. Thanks. Yeah. There is upward mobility in this position. Potentially. Do we at this point, just so like if people are following along, like, do we know about the sort of how Arrakis now exists, like the Sarir? Like, have we like described what the Sarir is yet, or is that?
I don't think we got to there yet.
I don't think we're quite there yet. Okay, we'll get there then.
Sarir was that the cursed place?
Well, that's like the Sarir is where that's the desert portion that's left, right? Like,
okay, yeah, there's that little portion left.
There's a little desert, and the rest of Arrakis is like this lush forested area.
But there's still a little too much moisture there.
Yeah, a little too much, yeah. He don't like moisture. He doesn't like getting wet.
And then he's like brain monologuing. He's like, Siona is my ardent enemy. He thought, I don't need Nayla's words to confirm this. Siona is a woman of action. She lives on the surface
That's
of
true.
enormous energies which fill me with fantasies of delight. I cannot contemplate those living energies without a feeling of ecstasy. They are the reason. See, this I would read as Stefan from
Oh
SNL.
God, there you go. Yeah, like you're just like this. You're just like. So
They are my reason for being.
Yeah, exactly.
This justification for everything I have done, even for the corpse of this foolish Duncan in front of me now.
Yeah, the body's still there. So creepy.
And then he's like, "What a gift Mineo has given me and his daughter. Siona is fresh and precious. This is Harvey Weinstein. She's the new, while I am a collection of the obsolete, a relic of the damned, of the lost and strayed. I am the waylaid piece of history which sank out of sight in all of our past. Such an accumulation of riffraff has never before been imagined. The minutia are mine."
Yes.
Siona, though, Siona was like a clean slate upon which great things might yet be written. Creepy.
Yeah, so creepy. What's your
like
great niece? Well, yeah, super great niece. Like, I don't know how many greats.
Not once did he when Leto continued silent, Mineo cleared his throat. Then, "I am saddened, Lord." Exquisite, Leto thought. He knows I feel true remorse about the Duncans. He had an Ixian las gun. He's like, "You were injured, Lord? Inconsequential, but he hurt you." Flippers are useless. I'll dispose of the body personally. All right.
Woo. But it did burn the flipper. He just doesn't really feel it. Yeah, so that's the thing, is it's like it just is like an inconsequential. It's like when I got my appendix out. So we move back to the spies now. Is this where
it's a lot of spy information?
Yeah.
And then, like, he's getting bored with it. He's like, how unfortunate he fathered only the one child on that mother. Like, just really random stuff.
Yeah.
Recall how I treated you in similar circumstances, Leto said. You know the demands of the golden path as well as I do, but I was young and foolish, Lord. Young and brash, never foolish.
Never foolish.
Feeding his belief, Leto said, you know how much I enjoy surprises. That is true, Leto thought. Mineo does know it. But even while Siona surprises me, she reminds me of what I fear most, the sameness and boredness which could break the golden path. And it's just like, my agent will continue watching her. Yes, Lord. And he's like, have I not proved a friend of the rebellion? But Lord, the aberrations of her past are more numerous than you may think. Yes, Lord. Yes, Mr. Smithers. Yes, Mr. Burns.
Yes, Mr. Burns. Smithers.
He starts out, my travels in the ancestral mazes have memorized uncounted places and events which I never desire to see repeated. I can imagine your inward travels. No, you can't. I have seen people and planets in such numbers that they lose meaning. The calligraphy of alien roads glimpsed from space.
Yeah, this is his Roy Batty
I have seen attack ships on fire.
The shoulder of Orion.
The eroded sculpture of canyons and cliffs and galaxies has imprinted upon me the certain knowledge that I am a mote. Not you, Lord, certainly not less than a mote. I have seen people in their fruitless society in such repetitive posturings that their nonsense fills me with boredom. Do you hear? I did not mean to anger you. You don't anger me. Sometimes you irritate me. That is the extent of it. You can't imagine what I've seen. Caliphs and Mjids, Rakas, Rahas, Bashars, kings and emperors, Primitos, and presidents. I've seen them all. Feudal chieftains, every one of them, everyone a little pharaoh. Forgive my presumption, Lord. Damn the Romans! He spoke it inwardly to his ancestors. Damn the Romans. I don't understand, Lord. That's true.
Well, that reminds me. So how often does Leto think about the Roman Empire?
Quite a lot.
Yeah, quite a bit. Maybe that is a thing.
The Jesuits come up a lot too.
Yeah.
The Jesuits come up more than a lot.
Did this predict 2023 Roman Empire discourse? Who's to say?
Leto's just like, we are myth killers, you and I, Mineo. That's the dream we share. I assure you from a God's Olympian perch that government is a shared myth. When the myth dies,
yeah.
the government dies.
This is a great little thing.
Leto Anon.
Yeah, Leto is definitely, yeah, for sure.
He's like, that man machine the army created our present dream, my friend. And Leto's like, oh, he's getting impatient with me. I guess I'm monologuing too long.
It's nice that he has that self-awareness
He's
at that moment. Yeah, he's like, oh, actually, maybe this is getting tiresome.
And he goes on, still speaking randomly, but the genie is not dead. Technology breeds anarchy. It distributes these tools at random, and with them goes the provocation for violence. The ability to make and use savage destroyers falls inevitably into the hands of smaller and smaller groups, until at last the group is a single individual. And like, there's a war going on in his head, basically, with the hordes within wanting to argue, but he shut them off, thinking jihads create armies. The Butlerian jihad tried to rid our universe of machines which stimulate the mind of man. The Butlerians left armies in their wake, and the Ixians still make questionable devices, for which I thank them.
Yeah, he's like, they shouldn't, but it's cool because they're useful to me.
And then he's just like, it happened. Lord, I'm going to my tower. Peace.
Yeah, he's like, I'm out. Quiet quitting again. I'm leaving.
And the new Duncan shows up, and he's greeted by the fish speakers, one of them wearing a hood, not showing who they are.
Yeah.
And it leads to a, hey, why are there all these women?
Yeah.
There's no dudes in the army? And they're like, well, did they try to seduce you? He's like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, what am I to go stable to stud? I mean, do you want
he's like,
to?
whoa, what's this job?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do picture all the fish speakers as just an army of Rhea Ripleys too. That's kind of what I was thinking. Because he describes them, the one he describes at least is like, she kind of has like a square, like this kind of powerful square face, and she's like,
Jim one Nia Jax.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. It's neat. Yeah, it's a bunch of Nia Jax, Rhea Ripley's, and Jade Cargill's. Just all. Oh God. They'll just crush you. They'll just step on you.
I do love like he's talking to them, and he's like, the instructor goes, there have been many of you. How many? Lord Leto provide their information. Lord Leto? Yeah, it's relaxed through history said this Lord Leto was Leto II, grandson of the Leto.
Mm-hmm.
How could a human slowly turn to a
he's like,
a worm?
How would that work? Jen knows what I'm talking about. She's on board. She's in the Rhea Ripley cult with me.
I'm a Dakota Kai guy.
Oh, no judgment.
Yeah.
But we'll crush you though. just be aware.
Yeah. In a good way.
It's fine. You'll enjoy it. It's fine.
So I just like they're like Luli, who's they're like, Lord Leto will summon you when it's time. For now, he wishes us to make you comfortable and happy. And he's like, must I obey? And they're like, and she shook her head like, what? It's like, am I a slave? No, it's just that Lord Leto has many great concerns which require his attention. And they're basically questioning him to see if he has any weird Talaxu programming.
Right. Yeah, because this one is like set up differently. Although he has more of the original Duncan memories, he has the original Duncan memories that they've unlocked them this time, right? Is that how you describe it? Yeah. Yeah,
they unlocked them because they had a Gola basically of Paul.
Yes.
That they try to kill.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I was gonna. So I'm doing this via the audiobook, and I was telling Dan the guy reads it, Duncan, as Michael Caine. It feels like, so he's like very much, yes sir, well I would do this, but it's like, so I'm just picturing like, why do we fall, Master Leto? Some men just want to watch the world burn.
So there's more topiary, and they flash
back to sweaty topiary,
buying a plastic Chris knife.
That's right. Yeah, I was like, oh, you can get that at Comic-Con probably.
I ordered one for Jen. It was made out of 3D machine.
It wasn't actually a sandworm tooth.
And it was very expensive to get it, and
He was on eBay
right.
for days, just like trying to find that thing.
They found the Fremen version of Etsy.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they meet with a Ixian Taloxu ambassador who's being replaced.
Mm-hmm.
And basically she keeps calling him, no, he's not the god. You call him Worm.
The worm, yeah. Giving lots of corrections on that.
What makes you think the Worm doesn't know about your intentions, even about this meeting? I think he knows many such things, that he may even know who took those volumes. My father believes he is truly prescient. One thing about the prescient is the Leto refuses to look at his own death.
Right, yeah. Right, he won't see it. He's like, because he wants that to be
true
or is it
surprise.
he can't? Is it that he can't or he won't? I couldn't,
he won't.
I guess I didn't grok that he won't. Okay, yeah.
But also he talks about that his genetic breeding got it so that basically Siona is a blank spot in his prescience.
Yeah.
Like not how the Spacing Guild navigators could hide from the prescience.
Right, they could hide
like
from
she's
it,
just a black hole.
Right.
Like just she won't show up.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically call out Topri for being a spy here.
Mm-hmm. And he's like,
yeah.
Jordan Peele sweating meme.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much that, right?
So the next one, it's starts out with, some say I have no conscience. How false they are. Even to themselves, I am the only conscience which has ever existed. As wine retains the perfume of its cask, I retain the essence of my most ancient genesis, and that is the seed of conscience. That is what makes me holy. I am God because I am the only one who really knows his heredity.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
He's on Ancestry.com. That's why he's God.
So this chapter is chapter 7. It's basically a back and forth between the Ixian Inquisitor and a new ambassador, Hui Nori.
Yes,
Hui Nori. Apparently is a relative of a former ambassador who Leto just loved because he was so charming.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had just good banter. I'm sure they had their own private chat also.
Oh yeah. He slid into those DMs for sure.
Yeah.
Which is what they're counting on.
They keep saying, my Uncle Malky often said that Lord Leto is given to moods of great tolerance for selected companions. Other companions he executes for no reason. I think there are reasons, and my Uncle Malky to do some of those reasons. Give one such deduction. Clumsy threats to his person. Clumsy threats now. And he does not tolerate pretensions. Recall the execution of the historians and the destruction of their works. He does not want the truth known. He told my Uncle Malky that they lied. And mark you, who would know this better than he? We all know the subject.
Yeah, it is rich. He doesn't like people being pretentious or having pretensions. Only I may be pretentious.
Did your uncle not speak of the worm's brutality? My uncle judged him ultimately civilized. My uncle counted him the most supremely artful diplomat in the empire, a master conversationalist and expert in any subject you can name. I mean, I asked him about brutality. Oh, capable of brutality, yeah. Your uncle feared him? Lord Leto lacks all innocence and naivete.
Yeah, naivete. Yeah.
Naivete, yeah.
Yeah.
He is to be feared only when he pretends these traits. That was what my uncle said. Those were his words, yes. The Lord Leto delights in the surprising genius and diversity of humankind. He is my favorite companion.
It's adorable.
Yeah, like it's
my bestie.
It's a Yelp review.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, you're the ambassador. Fuck
5 stars. 5 stars would not overthrow.
They have satellite weather controllers over the planet now. Mineo gets pissed because it's raining.
Yeah, and it's raining, and he's like, "Uh-oh." Yeah, I like when they're complaining about the weather, but they're complaining about the weather controllers. Like when he's talking to that one person.
Yeah, he's like, the damn weather controller should be made to shape up.
I wish I could do that.
And he was like, it's the worm who hates water. Shai-Hulud hungers for Dune. Neo drives himself off, and he was like, there was no point in inviting the worm's antagonism. Uninterrupted conversation with Leto was required. Now plain talk about the impending peregrination of the festival city of On.
Ah, yes. It's a real tourist trap.
Yeah, and Mineo is 118 years old in the week after they go to On. So he's been on that spice.
Oh yeah. Keeps you young.
Yes, he that's his payment for working for the worm.
Yeah, and what was it they described, like how valuable it is now? And I mean, I imagine.
Yeah,
like
because he basically hoarded all of it, so everybody has to come begging to him every year for their rations.
And they describe it I think around here, where they describe it as like, you could hold the price of a planet in the palm of your hand or something like that. So it's like it's quite valuable at this point.
The man could live many times that long if he would take the spice, but he refused. Leto had no doubt of the reason. Mineo had entered the peculiar human state where he longed for death. He lingered now only to see Siona installed into royal service, the next director of the Imperial Society of Fish Speakers. And Mineo knew it was Leto's intention to breed Siona with a Duncan. It was time.
This is the big plan.
Yeah.
This is the love story I think that they were alluding to in the intro. Maybe. We don't really know.
So they're like, hey, Lord, you've spent hours checking the new Duncan of the Talaxi, messed with his psyche. He's untainted. A deep sigh shook Mineo. There was no pleasure in it. He's like, you object to use him as a stud?
Wow.
I find it peculiar to think of him as both an ancestor and the father of my descendants.
So I guess I gotta believe that Villeneuve has read all the books, and this is part of what helped the decision for it to be Jason Momoa to be Duncan Idaho, and because you're like, okay, but eventually they're going to like basically use this guy to breed, or they want to breed him. So it's got to be like the hottest dude we can get.
Well, even like he's just like, I fail to see the purpose. The Duncans are slower and less alert than anyone in your guard. He's like, I'm not looking for a good segregant offspring, Mineo. Did you think me unaware of the progressional geometrics dictated by the law which govern my greeting program? I've seen your stock book, Lord. Then you know that I keep track of the recessive and weed them out.
Yeah.
God, and the mutations, Lord. And he's like, we will not discuss that subject. Now I want to know who that mutant was.
I know, right? Real shots at Duncan there. I don't appreciate that.
And then they just go on and on about this breeding program, and he just stops.
There's a lot of going on and on.
Yeah. And Leto glared down at me, thinking, if I use the keyword now, will he understand? Perhaps I am a predator, Mineo. And he's like, predator, Lord?
Yeah.
Predator improves the stock. How can this be, Lord? You do not hate us. You disappoint me, Mineo. The predator does not hate its prey. Predators kill, Lord. Yeah, I kill, but I do not hate. It's a big difference. There were no tremors in the giant body, no glazing of the eyes, no twisting of the useless flippers. He was like, because he's checking, he's like, did I miss the worm?
Like, nope.
Leto kind of did like a little smile. He's like, perhaps short-term decisions tend to fail in the long term. He gets very Seinfeld. He's like, hey, you never know.
Hey, what's the deal with these golas?
One genetic bad turn, everybody hold it. That's how we got Kramer.
Yes, that is how we got. That's what they're talking about. That's the mutant.
And they start going still back and forth about a predator. You don't understand the function of a predator. You know intellectually that even I will suffer a kind of death someday, Leto said, but you do not believe it. How can I believe what I will never see? And Mineo was like, never felt more lonely and fearful. What was the God Emperor doing? I came down here to discuss the problems of peregrination and to find out about his intentions towards Siona. Does he toy with me? And Leto's like, let us talk about Siona. He's like, fucking mind reading.
Oh yeah.
When will you test her, Lord? Soon. Forgive me, Lord, but surely you know how much I fear the well-being of my child. Others have survived the test. Mineo, you did. Mineo gulped, remembering how he'd been sensitized to the golden path. It's like, my mother prepared me. Siona has no mother. She has the fish seekers. She has you. Accidents happen, Lord. Tears sprang into Mineo's eyes. Leto looked away from him, thinking, he is torn by his loyalty to me and his love of Siona. How poignant is this? This concern for an offspring. Can he not see that all of humankind is my child?
Wow. It's a lot of child support.
Yeah, and then he's basically...
He controls all the spice, I guess.
He basically became Apocalypse. He's like, survival of the fittest.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, looks up and he's like, I hope she will like the Duncan's company, Lord. And it's just like...
Oh, he will.
Okay.
Well, Paul will.
Yeah. Oh.
Is it this? We're getting close to the point where they sort of explain, like, the Duncan's please the Paul part of him.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, that's like one of the reasons that we keep getting a Gola after Gola after Gola.
We're on to chapter 9, and this is with the Bene Gesserit come, and they're invited to accompany the fish speakers and entourage to accompany one of Lord Leto's infrequent peregrinations in his rail cart. Here on the Royal Road, I sometimes feel that I stand on battlements protecting myself against invaders. No one attacks you here, Lord. You, Bene Gesserit, assail me on all sides. Even now you seek to suborn my fish speakers.
Mm-hmm.
He still hates the whole Atreides hate.
Doesn't like them.
Yes. And then he's like going on. He's like, we have cluttered this landscape. Trees are a clutter. Houses, gardens. You cannot exalt anew mysteries in such a landscape. Does the Lord truly want mysteries? There is no outward spiritual freedom in such a landscape. Do you not see it? You have no open universes here with which to share. Everything is closed. Doors, latches, locks. Has mankind no longer any need for privacy and protection? When you return, tell your sisters I will restore the outward view. Such a landscape as this one turns you inward in search for whatever freedom your spirits can find. I will report your words accurately. See that you do. Tell your sisters also that the Bene Gesserit of all people should know the dangers of breeding for a particular characteristic.
Yeah.
Tell your mother. It's like a little bit of Mark Wahlberg. Tell your mother I said hello.
Yeah, tell your mother I said hello. Yeah. Oh man. Let's do the rest of this in Boston accents.
As the Lord Leto said, you got the unexpected, you got me, the wild card, and I have achieved Siona. The Lord Leto refused to elaborate on this reference to the daughter of the Major General Mineo. The matter is being investigated. In other matters of concern, to the chapter house, our investigators have supplied information on the fish speakers.
Yeah, nice.
The Lord Leto's female legions have elected the representation for it. They talk about the priesthood, the breeding program. The Lord Leto continues to prohibit our participation in the breeding program. His monitors from our fish speaker garrison remain adamant in weeding out our birth, to which they object.
Yeah.
In a response to a direct question from Sister Shanoa, the Lord Leto said, be thankful for what you have. Warning is duly noted.
What are you going to do?
Talks about the great houses.
Said no.
Talks about family life.
Yeah, this all has like headings, like this part,
yes.
Right? This has like, it's like a textbook thing, basically.
We remind you of a statement from the Lord Leto, which was reported here almost 8 generations ago. I am the only spectacle remaining in the Empire.
He's the Beyonce of the...
Reverend Mother Sayaska has proposed a theoretical explanation of this trend. She attributes to Lord Leto a motive based on the concept of hydraulic despotism. As you know, hydraulic despotism is possible only when a substance or condition upon which life is generally absolutely depends on can be controlled by a relatively smaller centralized force. So basically, he's controlling space travel. in general, basically.
Yeah. Well, and the spice in particular, because he refers to like people controlling oil and water in the past, and how that's kind of the paradigm of a hydraulic despotism. Which I'm like, did Herbert invent that term, or was that something that existed? Because that's a
I
pretty
don't know.
solid
I've never
term.
looked it up before.
Yeah, I didn't look it up either, but I thought like, that's a great term. That's a great name for a thing, hydraulic despotism.
And then they have like notes on the God Emperor. They're like, other than some small increments of growth, we note little change in the bodily characteristics. A rumored aversion to water has not been confirmed, although the use of water as a barrier against the original sandworms of Doom is well documented in our records, as is the water death by which the Fremens killed a small worm to provide the spice essence employed in their orgies. Thank God they kept that in there.
Yeah, it's important. It's a significant part of their culture.
It is our belief he knows every important action we take far in advance of the event. We guide ourselves, therefore, by the rule that we will not knowingly threaten either his person or such of his grand plan as we can discern. Our address to him will continue to be, tell us if we threaten you that we may desist, and tell us your grand plan that we may help.
Yeah. They're very like, we're here if you want us to.
And the Fremen who still do the old rituals are called museum Fremen.
Right, museum. I love that term, dude. The museum Fremen. Like, it feels rude, but it's also fairly apt.
I try to like picture like if they're like when you go to those like Civil War reenactments.
Oh yeah,
they're all acting constantly like it's still those days.
Yeah, it's those kind of people. Like they're like tourists come by and like, look, they're reenacting the siege of the Shield Wall or whatever. You know?
There's more Nayla. She goes to see the God Emperor, and like Leto's thoughts locked on her. In many ways, she's the most useful assistant I've ever had. I am her god. She worships me quite unquestioningly. Even when I playfully attacked her faith, she takes this merely as testing. She knows herself superior to any test. And he's like telling her, he's like, even if Siona sends you to kill me, you must obey. She must never learn that you serve me. No one can kill you, Lord.
Boomer. Yeah, Boomer Fremen. Yeah. That's what the younger Fremen say to them. They're like, okay, Boomer.
Let's see. But you must obey her. Of course, Lord, that is your command. You must obey her in all things. I will do it. Nayla does not question my tests. And then he goes, this is the tooth of Shai-Hulud. He had extended the blade to her on his silvery skinned hands. Take it, you become part of both past and future.
Yeah, he gives her
Nayla
a
accepted
knife.
it. Draw the blood of a finger, Leto command. She obeyed. Sheath the blade. Never remove it without drawing blood.
And it's kind of almost a recreation of the Shadout Mapes giving the Chris knife to Jessica in the first book, right? It's probably echoing that. Again, another like echo from the previous book.
And then he goes, as he watched the three-dimensional image of Nayla's approach, his reflections of that old ceremony were touched by sadness. Unless fixed in the old Fremen way, the blade would grow increasingly brittle and useless. It would keep its Chris knife shape throughout Nayla's life, but a little longer. I have thrown away a bit of the past. How sad it was. The Shadout of old had become today's fish speaker, as a true Chris knife had been used to bind a servant more strongly to her master. He creates another religion, the Bene Gesserit said. Nonsense. I have not created a religion. I am the religion. I am the religion, brother.
Yeah. Who's this Hulk Hogan? Is there a Mega Powers? We don't have the Mega Powers on Arrakis. It's just
no. That I feel like that'll be Siona when they eventually team up.
Is she Miss Elizabeth? She's gonna be riding on his shoulder. That would be. There's something here. We'll make this into something.
Nonsense. I have not created a religion. I am the religion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Pop and Circumstance plays as he comes out.
Look at me, woman.
Oh, God.
I have created a holy obscenity. This religion. Oh, this is Ric Flair.
Yeah.
I have created a holy obscenity. This religion built around my person disgusts me. Woo.
He talks about how expensive his card is.
Yeah. Styling Profiling, plant flying. You see these Gucci flippers?
Oh, he definitely has Gucci flippers. Gucci
And
flipper
then he
covers.
just throws the coat down on the ground and starts elbow smashing it.
Just yeah.
If I sent her out to collect the stars, she would go and she would attempt it. She thinks I'm testing her again. I do believe she could anger me. This damnable religion should end with me, he shouts. Why should I want to loose religion upon my people? Religions wreck from within. Empires and individuals alike. It's all the same. Yes, Lord.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Mr. Burns.
I kind of want Nayla to be like from Bob's Burgers.
Yeah.
Tina.
She's Tina. Yeah. Okay, I was gonna say yeah. She's Tina. Is Siona Lisa Simpson?
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a little Lisa Simpson-y.
Religions create radicals and fanatics like you. Thank you, Lord. Topri is reported to me through Mineo. Tell me about this Topri. Topri's a worm. Isn't that what you call me when you're among? I obey my lord and everything. Touche.
Busted.
Siona assessed him correctly. He's clumsy. He says things which others will repeat, thus exposing his hand. Even everyone agrees. Even Mineo later thought Topri is not a good spy.
That's what I was saying. Like, this guy sucks at this. Immediately I was like, Topri is bad at this. This is not.
Siona does not suspect you. I'm not clumsy. Do you know why I summoned you? To test my faith. Ah, Nayla, how little you know of testing. I want your assessment of Siona. I want to see it on your face and see it in your movements. Is she ready? The fish speakers need that one, Lord. Why do you risk losing her? Forcing the issue is the surest way of losing what I treasure most in her. She must come to me with all of her strengths intact. As my Lord commands. Will she survive the test, Nayla? As my Lord describes the test.
It's a little bit of Darth Vader waiting for Luke to show back up energy, right? Of like, you will come to me.
Nayla, I commanded you to obey Siona and everything. This is how you serve me.
Exactly, yeah.
My Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a little bit of, you will return to Siona and guard her life with your own. That is the task I asked for you, that you accepted. It is why you are chosen. It is why you carry a blade from Stilgar's house.
These are all, yeah.
Make it so.
These are all the voices.
Her right hand went to the crisp knife concealed beneath her robe. How sure it is, Leto thought, that a weapon can lock a person in a predictable pattern of behavior. So he knows how to play everyone.
Oh yeah. Well, he has superpowers. So
he's interviewing the new Leto. Not the new Leto, the new Duncan.
Yeah.
Because Arrakis runs on Duncan.
It does run on Duncan.
Or Duncans.
Yeah, yeah. So many Duncans.
He's like, it pleases me to see you again, Duncan. I can't see you. And then he starts.
Oh yeah, he's like in the dark. He's like being
Yeah.
creepy about it. He's in the dark, and it's not
He's
sexy like in Dick Tracy when Madonna's in the dark. It's just
and he's
creepy.
like, I hear Paul's voice, but I can't see him. He didn't try to let them all come out. It turns into that weird scene from Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh God. They're all weird.
Totally wasn't rape.
Totally
Yeah.
not. Don't kids don't look it up. Just,
Why was
move on.
Atreides playing this stupid game? Paul was truly dead. I was there. I mean, sort of, yeah. I mean, yeah. You have been told that you are only the latest in a long line of duplicates. I have none of those memories.
Nope.
There have been many changes, Duncan. One thing, though, does not change. I am still Atreides. They said your body. Yeah, that's changed.
Getting up there in years.
A little bit.
Our bodies change as we get older. Like, he's no different than us.
Yeah. I'm going through puberty. It took 3,500 years, but I'm there.
It's like his 100th puberty. And it just gets worse every time.
I have a bar mitzvah every segment.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of work.
Of course, that's how they awaken my memories. They explain the whole damn thing. Is it true? It's true, Duncan. I detest it, but I permit it for the pleasure of your company. The potential victims always survive, Leto thought, at least for the Duncans I see. They have been slips. There have been slips. The fake Paul slain and the Duncan wasted. What about your body? Muad'Dib can be retired now, Leto resumed his usual voice. I accepted the sand shroud as my skin. They have been changing me ever since. Why? I'll explain in due course. The Thalaxi said you look like a sandworm. What did my fish speaker say? They say you're God.
Kind of does.
Why do you call them fish speakers? An old conceit. The first priestesses used to talk to fish. How do you know? I am those women.
Hey.
I declare.
Hashtag feminism.
Leto heard the dry swallowing. I see why the darkness. You're giving me time to adjust. You always were quick, Duncan, except when you were slow.
That's real. That's a.
How long have you been changing?
That's rude.
More than 3,500 years. Then what the Talaxi said, they seldom dare to lie anymore.
That's where it gets confusing, right? Because he says more than 3,500 years, but then
he said 3,000.
He said 3,000 before.
Maybe it was 3,000 when he started his journaling.
Maybe that's the part where it gets fuzzy because I'm like, either really what happened is Herbert didn't have an editor, or
okay, so
something we're misunderstanding.
For Halloween, we're gonna get a Ouija board and we're gonna summon Frank Herbert. We're gonna have a lot of fucking questions.
We'll bring him on the show.
Questions.
We'll bring him on the show via Ouija board.
We gotta talk about this. We gotta talk about your household fascination and office supplies.
Yeah.
What did you mean by meat swelling?
Yeah. Oh God, beef swelling.
Beef swelling.
Beef swelling.
Is that why you summoned me back from the dead? Yeah, pretty much.
Still an all-timer. Yeah.
What about your body? Well, I'm still on the same. Okay. The Talaxi have copied me many times. Many.
Mm-hmm.
Time you asked how many. How many? I will let you see the records. How many? I said I'd let you see it. I remember my death. Harkonnen blades, lots of them trying to get at you and Jessica. I was there, Duncan, in the Muad'Dib voice. I'm a replacement, is that right? That's right. How did the other me? I mean, how did we die? All flesh wears out. It's in the records. Leto waited patiently, wondering how long. Oh, yeah. What do you really look like? What's the sandworm body the Talaxi described?
I picture him doing that, like he's messaging him there. It's like, send pics.
It will make sandworms of sorts someday. It's already down the road of metamorphosis. What do you mean of sorts? It will have more ganglia. It will be aware. Can we have some light? I'd like to see you.
Yeah, that's a weird part where he's referring to his body as it. It's like a real, like there's some, like Cronenberg doing this would make.
This is Rebecca De Mornay and Risky Business. Are you ready?
Oh, hey, hello.
It ends up becoming like La Cage aux Folles.
Is this Duncan Joe Pantoliano?
Or starts doing one singular sensation.
Yeah.
Well, Duncan, you were warned. And then Duncan's just like pointing at the pre-worm body and Leto goes, why? Duncan nods. He's like, I'm still Atreides, Duncan, I assure you, with all the honor of that name. There were compelling reasons. What could possibly... Oh, you'll learn in time. He's very close to, like, turning into... Hey, have you heard of Huey Lewis?
Oh, I know, right? Yeah. Don't mind this plastic on the floor.
Yeah. Now, hip to be square.
Wait, Leto? Jared Leto? Wait a minute. Hold on.
So, I'm to serve the Atreides again. That sounds familiar, is it? In many ways, old friend. Old to you, maybe, but not to me. How will I serve? Didn't my fish speakers tell you? They said I'd command your elite guard, a force chosen from among them. I don't understand. An army of women?
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Yeah, why women?
Oh, God.
There are behavioral differences between the sexes which make women extremely valuable in their role. You're not answering. You think them inadequate? Some of them look pretty tough, but others were, soft with you. And Idaho blushed. Leto found this charming.
There's like a little bit of like well-meaning, sort of like
a little bit.
Only first wave feminism here, like at best, like not even. I mean, barely. Again, I don't want to give him too much credit, but this like it starts out like okay, and then continue, please.
I don't see why you trust women to protect you. But I have always trusted them as I trust you with my life. What do we protect you from? my Mineo and fish speakers will bring you up to date. And he's like, well, what do I call you? He's like,
haters. You
Yeah.
protect me from haters.
it was the sign of acceptance for which Leto had been waiting. Will Lord Leto do? Yes, my lord. Is it true your fish speakers say you have memories of? We're all here, Duncan. Leto said in the voice of Leto. Even the women are here, Duncan. It's the voice of Jessica. You know them well, and they know you. That'll take a little getting used to. My own initial reaction, exactly. Your fish speakers were supposed to put me in a good mood, weren't they? Did they succeed? You Atreides told me well.
Wait, say that again for the.
Your Atreides always did know me too well.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, we know you like to fuck.
Himbo. He is DTF. He's Duncan TF.
That's better. You're beginning to accept that I'm not just one Atreides, I'm all of them. Paul said that once. So I did. Oh, that would annoy the fuck out of me. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah, that'd be so weird.
You've taken something away from us, he said. I can feel it. Those women, Mineo, us against you. The Duncans always choose the humans. What have you given us in exchange? Throughout the Empire, Leto's peace. And I can see that everybody's delightfully happy. That's why you need a personal guard. My peace is actually enforced tranquility. Humans have a long history of reacting against tranquility.
Yeah, that distinction is kind of important.
Yeah, so you give us fish speakers in a hierarchy you can't identify without any mistakes. Female army, the ultimate male enticing force. Sex always was a way of subduing the aggressive male.
This is where it goes off the rails. Now it's like, whoa.
So this leads on to, in the further books,
There's more, yeah.
There are sex nuns.
Oh,
they're Bene Gesserits that basically do nothing but fucking kill.
No longer surprised. Forced tranquility.
They're called the honored matres.
Honored. Exactly. Forced tranquility is not peace.
Yes. Sid called me out on the first Dune over about how I was excited to see them, and then I found pictures of what the honored matres look like, and she was like, "You're relishing the sex nuns." I was like, "But they're Bene Gesserits, but like to fuck, and they're assassins."
Are you saying a man wrote this? Come on. I don't believe you.
Oh no, it even gets better.
Oh,
because Miles Tegg is basically like Paul McCartney and the Beatles getting chased around by them because he can't be seduced by them, so it drives them nuts.
It's just Hard Day's Night. They're just like,
yes.
Uh-oh. Hey. I saw the Indeed post. Yeah, so you know.
It's a hard day's quiz of how to rock, and it's getting harder all the time. It's like Benny Hill running from room to room.
Yeah. Except the bikini lady's chasing him.
And you let the he goes, they prevent or ameliorate excesses which could lead to more painful violence, and you let them believe you're a god? I don't think I like this. The curse of holiness is as offensive to me as it is to you. A little Fraser Crane there should be good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be good, Fraser Crane. Yeah, totally. As he's like
what kind of game are you playing, Lord Leto? A very old one but new rules.
Is this Malcolm McDowell back?
Yeah. Well, I want to do a little Michael Caine, but I realized I can't do Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. Yeah.
Your rules.
Yeah. She was 14 years old.
And then they're like, "There's no more government. You're the government." He's like, "Why, yes, I am."
He is the government. He's the religion.
Yeah, he's
the
like,
government.
Well, what do you want me to do? Step aside for the Bene Gesserit, or maybe the Ixians and Talaxia? Would you like me to find another Baron Harkonnen to assume power over the Empire? Say the word, Duncan. I'll abdicate. In the wrong hands, monolithic centralized power is a dangerous and volatile instrument. And your hands are the right one? I'm not certain about my hands, but I will tell you, Duncan, I'm certain about the hands of those who've gone before me. I know them.
Classic double talk, dictating double talk. Like, I don't know, but I'm not that guy. You know.
Idaho turned his back on Leto. He's like, "Oh, what a fascinating, ultimately human gesture. Rejection coupled to acceptance of his vulnerability. So cute." And he's studying me, Leto thought, but he has only the face to measure me by. And he talks about how, like, the Atreides could, subtle signals of face and body, how they're trained for that.
Mm-hmm.
And Idaho is like, what's the worst thing you would ask of me? Oh, just like a Duncan. You will be asked to guard me by whatever means necessary, and you will be asked to guard my secret. What secret? I am vulnerable. That you're not God? Not in the ultimate sense. Your fish speakers talk about rebels. He's like, they exist. Why? They're young. I have not convinced them any ways better.
I like his quote about the young.
It's very difficult convincing the young of anything. They're born knowing so much.
That's such a great. Yeah, I love that.
Kids, what's the matter with kids?
20-year-old me definitely thought I knew a lot of stuff. I later discovered maybe I wasn't quite.
And then we'll cut to Paul Lynde doing "What's the Matter with Kids" from Bye Bye Birdie. Kids, what's the matter with kids today?
Deep cut.
Yeah. I never heard an Atreides sneer at the young that way. Perhaps it's because I'm so much older. Old compounded by old. And my task gets more difficult with each passing generation. Cue the Who's. Talking about my generation.
Yeah. They say you look awful wormy.
You will come to understand as we go. What happens if I fail you? Do your women eliminate me? I try not to burden them with guilt. But you would burden me? I mean, yeah, if you accept it. If I find that you're worse than the Harkonnens, I'll turn against you. Oh, just like a Duncan.
Yeah.
The Baron ate whole planets, Duncan. What could be worse than that? Eating the Empire? I'm pregnant with my Empire. I'll die giving birth to it. If I can believe that, will you command my guard? Why me? You're the best. Dangerous work, I'd imagine. Is that how my predecessors died? Doing some of them. I wish I had the memories you couldn't have and still be original. So the Atreides still need a sharp knife? We have jobs that only a Duncan can do. You say we. And Leto spoke to him as Muad'Dib. When we climbed Siege Tabor for the last time together.
Yes.
You
had
my loyalty, then I had your.
Get me right.
I had your sword. You had my axe. Well, that was your father. That was me. Paul Muad'Dib's voice command. All of you in that one body. He broke off. Leto remained silent. This was the decision moment. Lord, shall I take Duncan Idaho the guards he will command? Yes. Good, yeah. Mineo. So good. He knows me so well, but I despair of his ever understanding me. Constant shit talk.
Lots of shit talk, yeah. I do love that about Duncan in these books, is like he is like the swashbuckling kind of hero character, but he then gets like just manipulated for the rest of the time after he like dies heroically.
He's a himbo.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. He's like, he's Flash Gordon, but the way he's used post sacrificing himself to save Paul is like just weird psychological manipulation and strange.
And I love his nightmare in the next chapter. He's like, I woke up to this dream still roaring in my head. Weaponless women in black armor rushing at him with the hoarse, mindless shouting of a mob, waving hands moist with red blood, and as they swarmed over him, their mouths open to display fangs.
Yeah. It's Keanu in the bed in Dracula when all the ladies come up at it.
Forever to be known as that moment where I was in the theater and that scene happened, and this guy a couple rows away from me started doing the Joey Lawrence Blossom. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Whores of Satan.
We gotta start updating our we gotta start updating our for the kids. I don't think anybody understood any of those words that isn't over 35.
We've lived many lives.
We have.
And they talk about the room being too busy. More about Mineo is there, and he's like, "Oh boy, how do you?" He's like, "So this is where they put you, those damn women. Suppose they thought they were being kind, but they ought to know better. How do they know what I like?" Idaho demand. Even as he asked it, he realized it was a foolish question. I'm not the first Duncan. He's like, "I like the view, but not the furnishings. That can be changed."
Critical of the furnishings, finally. Somebody is like taking a look around, like all this furnishings seem important, but somebody didn't do a good job.
I can see that. How did my predecessor die? Mineo shrugged. He's like, he wasn't fast enough to escape the consequences of a decision he had made. Be specific.
That's the best vague answer ever.
The rebellion killed him.
Yeah. Also,
That's kind
still
of
vague.
like Darth Vader killed your father.
Yeah. You know.
I mean,
he
from a
killed
certain point of view.
Yeah. Just like, yeah, vague booking the hell out of it.
Did you give me my dad's fucking lightsaber that you cut off his hand? I mean,
You murder children with.
Yeah. And he's like, I want a complete briefing on the rebellion. He has you know what I mean. He has a curious theory about armies. I have discussed it with him on occasion.
Yes.
Do you want breakfast first?
Yeah.
Can't we do both at the same time?
Two fish speakers at the same time.
We've had some practice now about your question. Leto's curious theory. Yes, he says that the all-male army was too dangerous to its civilian support base.
Yeah. He could have stopped there. But no.
That's crazy. At the army, there would have been I know the argument, but he says the male army was a survival of the screening function delegated to the non-breeding males in the prehistoric pack. He says it was a curiously consistent fact that it was always the older males who sent the younger males into battle. What does that mean? Screening function. The ones who are always out on the dangerous perimeter protecting the core of breeding males, females, and the young. The ones who first encountered the predator. How is that dangerous to the civilians? And Lord Leto says that when it was denied an external enemy, the all-male army always turned against its own population. Always. Contending for the females, perhaps. He obviously does not believe, however, that was that simple.
Here it comes. Here it comes. This is the part where he gets canceled. Because that's not like the first part of the analysis. You're like, well, okay. I think you're oversimplifying, but I can see.
So Maneo's like, you haven't heard it all. There's more? Oh, yes. He says that an all-male army has a strong tendency towards homosexual activities.
Oh, boy.
And Idaho's, well, I never. Of course not. He's speaking about sublimation, about deflected.
Oh, my.
The rest of what? Adolescent attitudes, just boys together, jokes designed purely to cause pain, loyalty only to your packmates, things of that nature.
Do you think that did Frank Herbert live long enough to see Top Gun?
Probably not.
Because, I mean, no, yeah, he died in '83. Yeah, he died the year I was born, I believe. So yeah, he just missed seeing
rolling over in his grave, watching that volleyball scene.
He just missed seeing evidence of his bonkers, stupid, homophobic theory. Which, yeah, I want to be clear. I do not endorse this theory at all.
He died in
terrible
thing
to
say. Maverick.
Yeah. Like, oh, I was right. But it is like another one of those. We could move on, but like, just that is a moment in the book where I'm like, oh God, no, please.
So
please,
I
no.
remind myself of something which he said, and which I am sure is true. He is every soldier in human history. He offered to parade for me a series of examples, famous military figures who were frozen in adolescence. I declined the offer. I've read my history with care and have recognized this characteristic for myself. Maneo turned and looked directly into Idaho's eyes. Think about it, Commander. Idaho prided himself on self-honesty, and this hit him. Cults of youth and adolescence preserved in the military. They had the ring of truth, and that's when Maneo took out the lipstick and he said, "Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me." No, that didn't happen.
Self-love is important.
The homosexual latent or otherwise who maintains the condition for reasons which could be called purely psychological.
Oh, he keeps doing it. He keeps doing it.
So he doubles down on this. And
Joe Rogan would love this. Yeah, I just imagine him on. I imagine Leto on Joe Rogan's podcast, and just like they're.
So
both
have you ever done DMT?
Like so, this is the thing about armies, and Rogan just like, oh yeah, so you should have female armies then, right? Like that. Oh God, I just it's another like it would show up in the algorithm on YouTube, and I'd have to like, no, never again, don't show me this, please.
So basically, all of this hits Idaho, and he's like, he takes one bite of the melon. It had lost its sweet savor. He swallowed and put down his spoon.
I want to read that as like Duncan is like, this is insane, but like exactly how I thought it was insane, not more in just sort of a like he's a despot insane, but like all of
Duncan's
the
trying to
specific
change the
reasons.
subject. He's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, Mineo, you're not eating." He's like, "I was up before dawn and ate them." Mineo gestured at the plate. The women continually try to tempt me. Do they ever succeed? Occasionally. You're right. I find this theory curious. Is there more to it? Oh, he says, when it breaks out of the adolescent homosexual restraints, the male army is essentially rapists.
Yeah, that. Oh, boy.
Like, what the fuck?
I mean, he's following an idea, I guess. That's what he's doing.
And Mineo's thinking about this thing. God, Emperor once said, no matter how much we ask about after the truth, self-awareness is often unpleasant. We do not feel kindly towards the truth sayer. And Idaho's like, those damned Atreides. And then the bomb comes.
Oh, yeah.
Mineo goes, I'm Atreides. Idaho's like, what? His breeding program. I'm sure the Tilaxu mentioned it. I'm directly descended from mating of his sister in Harkalata.
Mm-hmm.
And Idaho leaned towards him like, then tell me, Atreides, how are women better soldiers than men? They find it easier to mature. True.
This is actually, that one actually, he kind of was onto something there.
They have a compelling physical way of moving from adolescence into maturity. As Lord Leto says, carry a baby in you for 9 months and that changes you.
See, and then he's like that. It's like the reasoning's off, but the like, yeah.
And Idaho's like, well, what does he know about that? Mineo stared at him and recalled the multitude of Leto, both male and female. Your words brand him with the look you want him to have. The immensity of the Lord Leto's. God, now he sounds like a member of Gore. or Road Warrior villain.
Yeah. The humongous rules the wasteland.
The immensity of the Lord Leto's memories has been known to stop my tongue too. Is he being honest with us? I believe him, but he does so many. I mean, take this breeding program. How long has that been going on? From the very first, from the day he took it away from the Bene Gesserit. What does he want from it? I wish I knew. It's
a mystery wrapped in an enigma.
Yeah. The fish speakers take no precaution against pregnancy. Oh yeah, this Idaho's frustration and anger had an object. Is that what I was doing with them that first night breeding? Damn, I'm not some animal. He can move from stall to stall like a stud. Yeah.
It's like I thought we were just partying.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this was for making stuff.
Those others of me, were any of them his studs? Some. You have descendants too. I'm one. And Idaho's just staring
right.
like, bro.
Like, huh?
This is how we end up with Matt Riddle.
Gosh.
Bro.
Is this the maybe this is the love story part?
That's when they formed RK Bro. Sometimes I think only the God Emperor himself can understand these things. That's another thing. This God business. Lord Leto says he has created a holy obscenity. Idaho's like, what did I expect? A defense. Holy obscenity. The words rolled from his tongue with a strange sense of gloating in them. He hates his God Emperor. No, he fears him. But don't we always hate what we fear? Why do you believe in him? You ask if I share the popular opinion? No. Does he? I think so. Why? Why do you think so? Because he says he wishes to create no more face dancers. He insists that his human stock, once has been paired, breeds in the way it is always bred. What the hell does that have to do with it? You ask me what he believes in. I think he believes in chance. I think that's his God. That's superstition. Considering the circumstances of the Empire, a very daring superstition. You damned Atreides, you'll dare anything. Ooh, gotta have a little Planet of the Apes.
Oh yeah.
You damned Atreides!
You blew it up.
And Mineo in his thoughts is just like, Duncan's always begin this way.
What an awful situation to just have, like, you show up, you're a whole person, but people just know what you're going to do because you've done it 1,000 times before.
And then
I feel like that sometimes in my life where it's like, they know what I'm going to do.
We get onto creepy ass Leto. He's like, when she was a child, she watched me, remember? When she thought I was not aware, Siona watched me like the desert hawk. And he's as they're going down the desert road, he's telling Mineo this, and Mineo's just like...
Yeah, he's rolling down on his cart. He's just rolling along.
Yeah, Mineo's just like, can we stop talking about my daughter?
Yeah, not cool.
and they've had their long he's talking about Duncan. He's like, if you had your long conversation, it's like, yep. Been about 4 days for them to recover. Duncans don't like walking in the open, and then like Leto starts like staring at the old days, gets lost in thought, looking at what used to be the shield wall and all that, and they talk about how like a little bit of the irritation of the God Emperor, where he keeps talking about Siona, and he's like, have you introduced Duncan to Siona? And he's like, no. And he turned to a scowl and Leto's like, calm yourself. Even when she spied on me, I cherished her. Remember that?
Oh, so sweet.
And then they start talking and looking. They talk about how like Leto is kind of starting to get a little moody.
Putting it mildly.
And they were like, Duncan, you can see over there where they say that was Tanzaroof, the land of terror. The Bar Bella Ma. It has been concealed under a carpet of plants for more than 3,000 years. And there's the Cliffs of Madness.
Great names for these places.
Yeah. Well, no, that was from Princess Bride or Cliffs of Insanity. Cliffs of Insanity.
Cliffs of Insanity. I think.
Okay.
I think that sounds right.
And Muad'Dib's Gap is right there, right where we built the city. That line of little hills, that was the shield wall. What happened to it? You're standing on it. And Monet was just like, can we just go?
Yeah, can we just get along here? I'm not paying for the real Peterman tour, the real J. Peterman tour.
Yeah. And then they start talking about as part of his early duties, Moneo had studied the Citadel's private records, the historical accounts of Leto's transformation, but symbiosis with Sandtrap remained a mystery, which even Leto's own words could not dispel. If the accounts were to believe, the Sandtrap skin made his body almost invulnerable to time and violence. The great body's ribbed core could even absorb lasgun bursts. First the Sandtrap, then the worm, all parts of the great cycle which had produced Melange. The cycle lay within the God Emperor, marking time. Then he's like, hey, snap out of it. Moneo, you're wool gathering. It's what we used to call it back in the day.
Oh, yeah, wool gather. That's right. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
You were wool gathering, but it's all right. He's like, oh, his mood's improved. I can thank the Duncan for that, I think.
Yeah, because the Duncan pleases the Paul within him.
They start talking about, like, also the weather kind of will bring the worm out. A little too moist out.
Yeah, it's a little too moist.
The fish speakers arrested the Bene Gesserit, and they were like, by the way, you're going to be last he sees.
Oh, yeah.
But they were like, we were third. You're like, not anymore.
Nope. Yeah, you're last. Go to the back of the line.
And they have spies in the city who are giving them information. And they're doing all this information. And we find out there's this one Reverend Shanoa, or Sister Shanoa, where her ability is she's not a mentat, but she can record accurately every conversation.
Right. Yeah.
Mentats are illegal now.
Right. Oh, yeah, there's no more mentats. And did we skip over? No, maybe we're not there yet. Never mind. Keep going. Sorry.
And then the Talaxi sent a message that they're going to try to attack Leto, and they're like, do we tell them? And they're like, I don't know, like, do we this? And then they're like, the Siona, should we talk to her? Like, so when they try to see her in the prescience, she fades from sight.
Yeah.
And she's alone. And then they keep talking about there's always Gola Idahos. Golas are too slow in the body, but not in the head. They think that they might plan a face dancer. And they forget who they think that the face dancer is. They thought it was going to be Duncan.
Right.
And then Leto's like, hey, have you told the Bene Gesserit the new schedule? They're like, yeah, they weren't happy.
Mm-mm. Didn't like that.
Yeah. Yes, Lord, I gave them the usual answer. Simple no should suffice. They no longer need to be reminded that I abhor their religious pretensions. And the worm was very much present this morning, the bodily signs quite apparent to Mineo's eyes. No doubt it was the moisture in the air. They always seem to bring the worm out. Religion always leads to rhetorical despotism.
Mm-hmm.
Before
I like that term too.
Yes. Before the Bene Gesserit, the Jesuits were the best at it. Jesuits, Lord? Surely you've met them in your histories. I'm not certain, Lord. When were they? No matter, you learn about the rhetorical despotism from a study of the Bene Gesserit. Of course, they do not begin by deluding themselves with it. And he's like, the Reverend Mothers are in for a bad time. He's going to preach at them. They detest that. This could cause serious trouble.
Yeah. They don't like being preached to. They like preaching. Well, they don't even know how to do that.
Mineo shook his head. This could lead to some very nasty plotting. The Duncan had better be warned. It leads to self-fulfilling prophecy and justifications for all manners of obscenities. This rhetorical despotism, Lord? Yes, it shields evil behind walls of self-righteousness, which are proof against all arguments. It feeds on deliberately twisting meanings to discredit opposition. All of that, Lord. The Jesuits called that securing your power base. It leads directly to hypocrisy, which is always betrayed by the gap between actions and explanations. They never agree. I must study this more carefully. Ultimately, it rules by guilt because hypocrisy brings on the witch hunt. Shocking, Lord. God, he's such a kiss ass.
Oh, yeah, totally. Oh, you don't say.
Mineo, are you paying close attention to me? Yes, Lord, indeed. I'm describing a tool of the religious power base. I recognize that, Lord. Then why are you so afraid? Talk of religious power always makes me uneasy because you and the fish speakers wield it in my name. Of course, Lord. Power bases are very dangerous because they attract people who are truly insane. People who seek power only for the sake of power. Do you understand? Yes, Lord. That is why you so seldom grant petitions for appointments in your government. Excellent, Mineo. Thank you, Lord. In the shadow of every religion lurks a Torquemada. Deep pull. You have never encountered that name, I know, because I caused it to be expunged from all the records. Why was that, Lord? He was an obscenity. He made living torches out of people who disagreed with him. And then, in a low voice, he's like the historians who angered you, Lord? Do you question my action? No, Lord. No, good. Good. The historians died peacefully. Not a one felt the flames. Torquemada, however, delighted in commending his god the agonizing screams of his victims. How horrible, Lord. What had been the meaning of this strange sermon? Mineo knew that few had ever heard the God Emperor speak thus. It was a privilege and a burden.
Maybe if more people would hear him speak, he would speak less.
Yeah. Mineo glanced at the now silent Leto. The God Emperor's eyes were closed, and a look of brooding had come over his face. That was another of the worm signs of bad when Mineo trembled. Did Leto anticipate even his own moments of wild violence? It was the anticipation of violence that sent tremors of awe and fear throughout the empire. Leto knew where guards must be posted and put down in transitory uprising. He knew it before the event. Even thinking about such matters dried Mineo's mouth. There were times he could read my mind. And then Leto's just like, do not try and force an understanding of my ways, Mineo. Let understanding come of itself. I will try, Lord. No, do not try. Tell me instead. If you announced yet that there will be no changes in the spice allotments, not yet, Lord. Delay the announcement. I'm changing my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, there will be new offers. And he's J. Peterman.
Yeah, totally. I've changed my mind. Delay.
Draw them out, he said. See how high they will go. Make it appear that you can be bribed at last. Has House Carino offered you a bribe? Yes, Lord. Do you know the myth which says that someday House Carino will be restored to its ancient powers? I have heard it. Have the Carino killed. It's task for Duncan. We'll test him. So soon?
Oh, yeah.
It's still, yeah.
This is rough.
It is still known that melange can extend human life. Let it also be known that spice can shorten life. As you command, Lord.
That's a pretty sweet line, too.
Try not to be impatient with me, Mineo, Leto said. Mineo suppressed his feeling of bitterness. Bitterness brought peril. Time has a different meaning for you than it has for me. Lord, I wish I could know that meaning. You could, but you will not. And then he talks about he got to see the great bins of melange laying around. When he first worked for him, getting to see the underground. With Ancient design with arabesques of metal scroll work upon them.
Yeah, more
The
interior
spice
design.
had glowed a radiant blue in the dim silver light, and the smell of bitter cinnamon. One day, all of this will be gone, Lord Leto said. What will the Guild and Bene Gesserit do then? What are they doing now, but more violently?
I love
the
that
temptation-
visual of this ornate secret room with the glowing spice piles. So that's pretty cool.
The temptation, Mineo whispered. The temptation indeed. Will there be no more melange ever, Lord? Someday I will go back into the sand. I will be the source of spice then, you, Lord. And I'll produce something just as wonderful, more sand trout, a hybrid and a prolific breeder. The sand trout will link themselves into large living bubbles to enclose the planet's water deep underground, just as it was in the Dune times. All of the water, Lord? Most of it. Within 300 years, the sandworm once more will reign here. It'll be a new kind of sandworm, I promise you. How is that, Lord? It will have animal awareness and a new cunning. The spice will be more dangerous to seek and far more perilous to keep. Everything desert again. Water courses will fill with sand. Crops will be choked and killed. Trees will be covered by great moving dunes. The sand death will spread until a subtle signal is heard in the barren lands. What signal, Lord? The signal for the next cycle, the coming of the Maker, the coming of Shai Hulud. Will that be you?
Yeah.
Yes, the great sandworm of Dune will rise once more from the deeps.
It's pretty metal.
Yeah.
Whole, like,
Will everyone go hungry,
it's
Lord?
great now.
Yeah. Will everyone go hungry, Lord? Undernourishment, the old diseases will stalk the land, while only the hardiest will survive. The hardiest and most brutal. Must that be, Lord? The alternatives are worse. Teach me about those alternatives. In time, you will know them. And then your enemy's like, I enjoyed the way your daughter watched me. She was so unaware that I knew. It was like, Lord, I
What a
fear her.
shift.
She is my blood. Mine too, Mineo. Am I not Atreides? You would be better employed fearing for yourself. And then he was like, uh-oh. Mineo glanced at the cordage following. Then along the road ahead, they were now in steep descent, and he was just like, Siona does not offend me, Mineo, but Mineo, here in its mysterious capsule is one of life's great secrets, to be surprised. You have a new thing occur. That is what is. Lord, I knew. Isn't that a radiant, wonderful word? Now he's Willy Wonka. If you say it, Lord. And Leto was like, Mineo is my creature. I created him. Gotta remind myself. Your child is worth almost any price to me, Mineo. You decry her companions, but there may be one among them that she will love. Mineo cast an involuntary glance back at Duncan Idaho marching. Idaho was glaring ahead as though trying to probe each turn of the roads. We will depend upon the Fremen, Mineo had reassured him. Fremen? Idaho did not like what he heard about the museum Fremen. At least they can sound an alarm against intruders. And then he's like, you're wool gathering again. Come on. Snap out of it. And Mineo could see the signs of the worm growing more dominant in the God Emperor's body, and there was no escaping recognition of this mood. He's like, I'm in grave danger. We all are. And he grew aware of everything. He's like, was it the moisture bringing him out? Like, and he's like, listen to me, Mineo, as though your life depended on it. Yes, Lord. Part of me dwells forever underground without thought. That part reacts. It does things without a care for knowing or logic. And Mineo nodded, his attention glued to the God Emperor's face, where the eyes about to glaze. I am forced to stand off and watch such things, nothing more. Such a reaction could cause your death. The choice is not mine. Do you hear? I hear you, Lord. There's no such thing as a choice in such an event. You accept it, merely accept it. You will never understand it or know it. What do you say to that? I fear the unknown, Lord. But I don't fear it. Tell me why. And it's because of all your memories, Lord. Yes, an incomplete answer. Then you see everything that we know, all of it that once was unknown. A surprise to you. A surprise must merely be something new for you to know. And he's like, for that, I grant you a boon.
Yeah, like, wow.
He's like, can I bring
than a
Siona
bonus.
back to the Citadel? And he's like, you're going to make me test her sooner. He's like, she must be separated from companions. He's like, very well. My lord is gracious. I am selfish. And the God Emperor turned away. He's like, ooh, that was a mistake that will only arouse him again. Why did I say they could present their petitions? Hey. Now he goes, Professor Break. Right, Laven. The Fremen would be waiting up at him, and Mineo marched in silence. This is the last chapter, and it's Sister Chenoa.
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 Chenoa is how I heard it in the audiobook. But
she's talking to Lord Leto, and he's giving her messages.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the ancestral numbers can be overwhelming, and who knows before the event which force will command such a horde, good or evil. Lord, how did you overcome such a force? He's like, I didn't overcome it, but the persistence of the pharaonic model saved both Ghani and me. Do you know that model, Sister Chenoa? We of the Sisterhood are well coached in history, Lord, yes, but do you not think of it as I do? I speak of a disease of government which was caught by the Greeks. And here we go with the Greeks.
Yep.
And the Romans, who spread it to the Romans.
But those are his people, the Greeks.
Who distribute it so far and wide that it never has completely died out. Does my Lord speak of it? No, those. I hate this thing, but it saved us. Ghani and I formed powerful internal alliances with ancestors who followed the pharaonic model. They helped us form a mingled identity within that long-dormant mob. I find this disturbing, Lord, and well, you should. Why are you telling me this? You have never answered one of us before in this thing. Because you listen well, Sister Chenoa. Because you will obey me, and because I will never see you again.
That's right.
Why have you not inquired about what your sisterhood calls my insane tyranny? Lord, we know about some of your bloody executions. They trouble us. Because I know you have been trained to record accurately. Whatever words you hear, I will speak to you now, Sister Chenoa. As though you were a page in one of my journals. Preserve these words.
Wow. Harsh.
Yes. For I do not want them lost. So basically, he's Dr. Doom if you put him on Fing Fang Foom's body.
Yeah. No, that's a good description.
Love monologuing.
Especially in this moment. Yeah, for sure.
I assure my sisterhood now that what follows exactly as he spoke them are the words uttered by the Lord Leto. To my certain knowledge, when I am no longer consciously present here among you, when I am here only as a fearsome creature of the desert, many people look back upon me as a tyrant. Fair enough. I've been a tyrant. I've been tyrannical. A tyrant, not fully human, not insane. Merely a tyrant. He's Billy Loomis. He's Billy Loomis now.
Billy Loomis, yeah.
Or Stu Macher. Horror movies made us better killers. But even ordinary tyrants have motives and feelings beyond those usually assigned them by facile historians. They will think of me as a great tyrant. Thus, my feelings and motives are a legacy I would preserve lest history distort them too much. History has a way of magnifying some characteristics. Why am I speaking in time? Some characteristics.
What do you mean?
Well, it discards others. People will try to understand me and to frame me in their words. They will speak the truth. The truth always carries the ambiguity of the words used to express it. Like that time that Shawn Michaels kicked Marty Jannetty out a window. You will not understand me.
Sweet chin music.
The harder you try, the more remote I will become until finally I vanish into eternal myth. A living god at last. That's it, you see. I am not a leader, nor even a guide. A god? Remember that. I am quite different from leaders and guides. And this is when it starts playing Living Color's Cult of Personality.
Yeah. Oh, now he's Yeah. Maybe that's actually the most appropriate because he is literally a cult leader.
Gods need take no responsibility for anything except Genesis. Gods accept everything and thus accept nothing. Gods must be identifiable yet remain anonymous. Gods do not need a spirit world. My spirits dwell within me. Answerable to my slightest summons, I share with you because it pleases me to do so. What I have learned about them and through them, they are my truth. Because of the truth, gentle sister, although much sought after truth can be dangerous to the seeker, myths and reassuring lies are much easier to find and believe. If you find a truth, even a temporary one, it can demand that you make painful changes. Consider your truths within words. He's got to be high as fuck writing this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's pretty good evidence that he would at least conceived of things in some kind of altered state.
Tip. Honey, you won't believe this fucking line I just came up with.
He thinks he's actually predicting the future. Like, he thinks he has prescience. Like, this is just what's going to happen.
I fucking nailed it. Words are much easier to absorb than the sharp Delphic stabs of wordless portent. With words, you can cry out in the chorus. Why didn't someone warn me? But I did warn you. I warned you by see now it's Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
I did warn you by example, not with words. So here, he's got the whole world in. There are inevitably more than enough words. You record them in your marvelous memory even now, and someday my journals will be discovered. More words. I warn you that you read my words at your peril. The wordless movement of terrible events lies just below the surface. Be deaf. You do not need to hear or hearing. You do not need to remember. How soothing it is to forget, and how dangerous. Words such as mine have long been recognized for their mysterious power. There is a secret knowledge here which can be used to rule the forgetful. My truths are the substance of myths and lies, which tyrants have always counted on to maneuver the masses for selfish design. You see, I share it with you, even the greatest mystery of all time, the mystery by which I compose my life. I reveal it to you in words. The only past which endures lies wordlessly within you. And then the God Emperor falls silent, and I dared to ask, are those all of the words that my Lord wishes me to preserve? Those are the words. And he had the sound of someone uttering a last testament. I recalled that he had said he would never see me again, and I was fearful.
This is creepy.
But I praised my teachers because the fear did not emerge in my voice. Lord Leto, these journals of which you speak, for whom are they written? For posterity. After the span of a millennia, I personalize those distant readers, Sister Chenua. I think of them as distant cousins filled with family curiosities. They are intent on unraveling the dramas which only I can recount. They want to make the personal connections to their own lives. They want the meanings, the truth. But you warn us against truth, Lord, I said. Indeed, all of history is malleable instruments in my hand. Oh, I have accumulated all of the past. I possess every fact. Yet the facts are mine to use as I will. And even using them truthfully, I change them. What am I speaking to you now? What is a diary? A journal? Words. Again, the Lord Leto fell silent. I weighed the portent of what he had said, weighed it against the admonition of Reverend Mother Sayaka. Sayakska? I don't know.
Yeah.
Lord Leto,
I can't remember what they said in the audiobook.
Lord Leto, you have said that you will not see me again. Does that mean you are about to die?
Oh, no.
I swear in here, in my record of this event, Lord Leto laughed. Then he said, no, gentle sister, it is you who will die. You will not live to be a Reverend Mother. Do not be saddened by this. By your presence here today, by carrying my message back to sisterhood, by preserving my secret words as well, you will achieve a far greater status. You become here as an integral part of my myth. Our distant cousin will pray to you for intercession with me. Again, the Lord Leto laughed. Yes, I did a little bit of Kirk.
I was going to say, like the Shatner voice.
But it was gentle laughter, and he smiled upon me warmly. I find it difficult to record here with that accuracy which I am enjoined to employ in every account, counting such as this one. Yet in this moment that the Lord Leto spoke those terrible words to me, I felt a profound bond of friendship with him. It's like Stockholm Syndrome, as though some physical thing had been leaped between us. I think that meant to say leapt, but tying us together in a way that words cannot fully describe. It was not until the instant of this experience that I understood what he had meant by the wordless truth. It happened, yet I cannot describe it. Because of intervening events, the discovery of this private record is now little more than a footnote to history. Interesting because it contains one of the earliest references to the God Emperor's secret journals. For those wishing to explore further into this count, press for more. It starts calling Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Would you like to know more?
Oh, this is a paywalled art. It's a paywalled article.
Reference may be made to archive records subheadings Chenua, Holy Sister, Quintinius, Violet. Chenua report, the and melange rejection medical aspect of. Footnote, Sister Quintinius Violet Chenua died in the 53rd year of her sisterhood, the cause being ascribed to a melange incompatibility during her attempt to achieve the status of Reverend Mother.
Yeah, what does that mean? What is that like? Does she have some kind of like overdose death?
She couldn't change it.
Yeah, she couldn't change it. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But so she just dies because the poison transmogrification.
Yes.
Yeah.
The dance that was in her pants. They didn't have the
no.
orgy. That's what was missing.
Man,
They didn't have
that's
the
the-
Fremen orgy.
It sucks that she died, but she also missed out on the orgy, so that's too bad.
So it's interesting, his pomp and circumstance, I would call it. That is the end of our reading, all 16 chapters for this episode. We're over 2 hours.
Not bad, frankly.
Yeah, I wasn't
Keeping it
expecting
tight.
I wasn't expecting to do as much reading. But when you have so many words and us doing dramatic readings as in voices.
Well, and a lot of it is, the things Leto says are the things you kind of have to dig into. So
yeah, I forgot. I think it's really heavy him monologuing in the first third of the book, and then once Siona gets injected into it, it starts becoming a little bit more Benny Hill.
Nice.
The worm rolling from door to door.
I can just see. Yeah, I can see it.
Thank you so much, Scott, for hanging
Yeah.
in there and doing this dramatic reading.
I'll work on my voices.
For those who showed up for Jen,
yeah, sorry.
It's a rough time right now for her. Tune in soon to the Instagram. You'll see some things happening. Tuesday night, we're kind of doing a comic hangout. Not going to say I won't be doing any voices because you never know.
I think that's what they show up for.
We could be doing some Seinfeld Dune.
Yeah. What's the deal with comic books?
Macho Man might reappear.
Oh yeah.
For those who watch wrestling, it was exciting to see The Rock back the other night, especially hitting Austin Theory.
People's elbowed. Is that how you would say that? Austin Theory.
Yes.
Called him an asshole. Got the crowd to call him an asshole.
And they bleeped it.
And they had to bleep it because it's television. It's family television, people. This is family television. The Attitude Era is gone.
But we will be back in a couple of weeks. Or you'll see her at Rose City.
Yeah, and if you're at Rose City, you can buy my comic that I made. Other folks, anybody else in the chat, maybe that Star Wrestling. Yep.
And is it only available at Rose City?
For now, I will probably get it up on my Etsy, depending on how it goes at Rose City. So I might do another edition if I sell out. But if you're interested, if anybody's interested, DM me, and we can figure something out.
For anybody who happens to be showing up at the Halloween 45 years convention in Pasadena, there is one day that they will be selling the Archie meets Michael Myers print. Where it's the Riverdale girls and it's redoing scenes from Halloween, and it's only on sale for one day. One of them's him looking through a mirror at Sabrina, and the other one's him in the halls.
That sounds cool.
Hi, Sheena, and possibly Inja, both, maybe one or the other. I know you came here for Jen. I'm sorry. But I love that you guys are really doubling down on your channel and you're growing, and that's awesome to see, especially for Inja. He used to be so shy. So anyway, I was ending this. It's 2 hours. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you in Prescience.
Prescience.
Bye.
Later.